My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negra Arroyo Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87104. To all law enforcement entities, this is not an admission of guilt. I am speaking to my family now.
AMC's award-winning show, Breaking Bad, is set to return later this month, marking the end of one of the most talked about series in recent memory. Because the release date is so close, many fans have been speculating key plot points that will mark the end of the meth master himself, Walter White. Who will die? Who will live? No one knows yet, but I'm here to weigh in and give my top 10 Breaking Bad ending predictions. Enjoy. So at the end of last season, we saw that Hank found out that Walter was indeed Heisenberg, and he's probably going to do all he can to regain his pride. Now what I think is going to happen, this is one of my theories, there's loads of theories out there, but this is what I think is probably the most likely to happen, is that Hank will go after Walter, but he won't do it with the police, he'll do it on his own, in a kind of private investigator type thing, just to get his pride back. He doesn't really want to get him arrested, so to speak, but he does want to try and get his pride back, and get revenge for being outsmarted, basically, by someone like Walter, because as you probably know, in season 1, Walter was a bit of a nerd, and Hank assumed that he wouldn't do anything good with his life. He thought his life was boring. To be outsmarted by him is something that he won't like at all. Now he's probably going to find his storage unit, and he's probably going to go to Marie and say, "Oh Marie, I'm going to take the minerals to the storage unit," because as you probably know, he has the crystals that he collects, because he collected them when he hurt his leg, he's got that wound, and he started collecting minerals when he was bedridden. So he's probably going to say, "I'm going to put them in the storage unit, keep them there," and he's probably going to come across Walter White in that storage unit. He's probably going to go there, tail Walter there, or maybe even bug his car, get to the storage unit, and bump into him. And he's going to do everything he can to get into that storage unit to have a look. But Walt has over the time that he's became Heisenberg, became the drug lord, he got smarter, and not just kind of academically smart, but like street smart. And he'll do all he can to stop Hank from getting in. And that'll just add to the kind of suspicion. Well, I mean, he already knows who he is, but it'll add to like kind of the hatred that's going to probably grow between them as the final series continues. Now there is a screenshot of Walter White with the black eye. I'll try and show that in the video, but I assume that's because Hank is going to try and beat him up when he gets to the storage unit. That would fit in with this prediction, and it seems that one of the most likely reasons that Hank and Walter will have an inevitable fight. After he's went to the storage unit, he won't get in because Walter won't let him in, but he's going to do everything he can to unravel the mystery, and he probably will unravel it slowly and surely as it progresses. It'll probably go after Jesse to get the most information. I assume he already knows that Jesse and Heisenberg are working together, so he'll go to Jesse and he'll use him as leverage, because although Walter White and Jesse argue nearly every episode, they still care about each other, so Jesse would be a kind of good person to hold hostage in a certain type of way until Heisenberg kind of admits it was him and vows to stop doing it. Skyler and Walt Jr. will probably get found out by the police, because if Hank knows that Walt is a drug dealer, he'll probably assume that Skyler doesn't know, and he'll try and do something for their own safety. He'll say, like, your husband's a drug dealer, you need to go into like protective custody, witness protection type of deal, so they'll be taken by the police, because they'll assume they don't know about it when they actually do, when Skyler actually launders his money, helps him with it. Walt Jr. has no idea, but they'll get put into custody, and Walt will have to go out by himself to escape with what little money he has left. Now in the final episode we saw last time, you saw that he had a gun in the back of his trunk. He bought that. He's probably going to use that to kill Hank, that's my guess, in this kind of second half of the series. In this finale, it seems like Hank's most likely to be the kind of big enemy and the forbidden force that's going to try and stop Walter. Walt's probably going to get his cancer back as well, because there's a few screenshots similar to Walt's hospital, so it seems like that's another most likely kind of thing that's going to happen due to the screenshots, solidifying that idea. Hank will hold Jesse hostage in some way. Walter will go to him, Hank will kill Jesse, and then Walter will kill Hank, and it'll end with Walter being by himself. He'll get shot, probably mortally wounded, because there's not going to be a happy ending, as you probably know. He'll get killed. His brother will be killed, and his partner will be killed, and he'll slowly die, if not from the bullet wound, but probably from the cancer later on. That's one of the more morbid ideas, but that's probably one that's most likely. Another prediction would be that Walter looks out for himself. He just doesn't care about his family, he doesn't care about Jesse, he gives up, and the Heisenberg persona totally takes over his whole kind of entity. Now, we know that the first episode of the final season is going to be called Live Free or Die, and that's probably a big hint as to what's going to happen throughout the series, and maybe even just in that episode. Now, throughout all of his experiences, all of his mishaps, Walter's got smarter, and he also became more selfish. As you can see, he totally just dropped Jesse and got a new partner. And what I think is going to happen is that his new partner will become a bit of a hindrance. He'll do something wrong. I can't exactly put my finger on what will happen with his partner, but something bad will happen with his partner. Maybe he's a double agent, or maybe he's just going to fuck up something. He'll do something along those lines. But I think that Jesse is probably going to go into prison as well. Another thing that's very likely, Jesse gets imprisoned. Probably Hank goes to Jesse, like I said in the last prediction. But he actually does find evidence that Jesse was with Walt, and he puts him in prison. Either that or Jesse tells Walt that Hank's after him. He finds out somehow, and because he tells Walt, they find out that he's with him, and because he was so nice, he gave Walt the heads up. That's another reason why he goes in prison. But Walt doesn't return the favour. When Jesse gets put in prison, he doesn't break him out. He doesn't make any effort to save him. He goes, leaves his family, and he just gets out of town. Now you can see that in the last episode that we saw, he had a gun that he bought. And when the person he was buying off says, "You're going out of town, you're going over the border," he said, "No, I'm not leaving town." So So it'd be stupid to assume that he's going to kill a lot of people, try and break Jesse out, because he just doesn't have the kind of firepower, he doesn't have the skill to do that. Because remember, he was a chemistry teacher, and he still isn't proficient with a weapon. He's probably going to blow up a car, or something. He's made like kind of a distraction. He'll probably blow up some stuff that made a distraction for the kind of police. They'll go after that. And when they're doing that, he can try and escape with his own life, leaving his family and his second son, almost, Jesse, behind bars. Now, Walt's retirement is not going to be received well by Lydia, Declan, or even Todd, for that matter. They will come after him, and they'll probably get Jesse to cook for them, because Walter has retired from the kind of methamphetamine business. I think Walt's probably going to get chased down by all these people, and because they're going after kind of Skylar and Walter White, they'll go after his family, something personal, because that's just how they roll. Hank will initially be going after Walter to try and bust him, but when he gets there, he finds out that they've got a family, and he vows to help them. But because he helps out Walter, his family, so that's Marie, she gets captured as well. So it's kind of a unlikely relationship in which Hank has to help out the person he's been chasing for all that time. It's one of the more far-fetched ideas for the finale, but it seems like one that might happen, and it might actually be a kind of interesting way to end this series. It probably will, again, end with them dying. I assume that whatever's going to happen, someone who is a main character is going to die. Maybe Skylar dies, but Hank and Walter might have to work together in order to save their family from all the people that Walt has worked with in the past. Even Jesse might take over and try to take his family out as well. Another theory would be that Walter tries to poison Skylar. You see, in the last episode of the season we saw last, you saw that they were all at picnic table, and that was when Hank found out that Walt was indeed Heisenberg, and he gave his wife food, and he might give Skylar that poison that he used on the little kid and he used on other people before throughout the series. She'll die, and then he'll die of cancer. His kids will go to Marie and Hank, and he'll leave all his money to them, but he might not necessarily tell them that it was because of the meth in his will, and say that he accumulated it over time. Not giving them all the money, but giving them enough to get by and enough to try to treat the kids over their lifetime. Another thing that makes me think this might become true is because in the final scene, the bottom of Skylar's glass had a kind of weird kind of colour to it, and it looked like a similar thing to the Ricidin that was used to poison the other people in the series as well. Now, if you remember a few seasons ago, Jesse fell in love with a girl called Jane and his little son Brock, and they both died because of the Ricidin, which is a drug that's used throughout the series to kill off people. They got a hold of it, they both died, and Jesse doesn't know that Walt actually made that drug and sort of was responsible for their death. And they're probably not going to leave that as a loose end, they'll probably tie that up, and that'll be something that destroys the relationship between Walt and Jesse for the whole thing, and they won't want to talk to each other anymore. Now, Walt will probably kill Jesse because of this, because Jesse might say he's going to go to the police and just rat them out. Walt will kill Jesse, kill him off. It'll end in an emotional scene, and the DEA will probably connect Jesse, as I said before, and Walt will probably suspect Jesse of turning him over. He'll suspect that he's told them what happened, and he'll kill him because of that. Now, another idea is that he just leaves the country altogether and leaves the Heisenberg persona behind, because he has the name Heisenberg, who is a theoretical physicist, and he uses this alias when he's in the bar. When we see the kind of preview of the next season, he uses the alias Heinrich Lambert, or just Lambert. He uses that alias, so that might be that he's not going to be Heisenberg anymore. He's going to be a new drug dealer called Lambert in a whole new area. So maybe he leaves Heisenberg behind, vows to stop, and in a certain kind of way he does stop, but he also picks it up in a different area where the DEA and the police have no idea who he is or what he's done in the past. And he could do this through the disappearing method that Saul had described a few seasons before. Because when Walt was panicking about his family getting killed, Saul offered him a disappearing method where you get a whole new identity and you leave the place altogether. Now he said that was a last resort. In case anything bad happened, you could leave with new IDs, but you'd never be able to come back. So maybe Walt actually took advantage of that offer, and he leaves either by himself or with his family with new IDs. The Lambert thing could be his actual ID, could be his name, but Lambert's probably going to be his sort of tag as a methamphetamine dealer and distributor. But then that wouldn't explain why he has the gun, so so this is probably not going to happen, although it is still a theory. Another thing is that Todd probably has something to do with Walt and Jesse's demise. He's just been a little too capable a criminal to be one of Mike's. He's the one who spotted the nanny cam inside one of the meth labs, and he also killed a child with what seemed like reflexive speed. And he lapped up the cooking lessons straight away, and he's someone you wouldn't really expect to learn that fast. But he learned it so fast, you would assume he already knew it. And he probably has a scary reason for knowing all these things, so something tells me that he's going to double cross them in some way. I don't think he's part of the police, he looks too stupid for that, but I think maybe he knows Gus and he's a friend of Gus, so he's like trying to find out what Walt really does, but he's going to try and betray them in some way. So Todd betrays them is another theory as to what might happen to Walt and Jesse. Another idea would be that Walt goes through this Hamlet-esque ending. Everybody else dies, everybody's killed in a kind of shootout through the drugs, and he himself is the last survivor. But he can't handle the guilt and he kills himself. Again, like I said before, that's a rather morbid kind of ending, but it's going to be a morbid ending. There isn't going to be a happy ending to this series, and I think the creators and everybody who watched the show know that by now. It's going to go out with a bang. Walt could get the gun, he could shoot up the DEA, he could shoot up the people who were chasing him on the drug side, the Nazis or people from Arizona, but in the end, he's going to be borderline suicidal if he does kill everybody he knows. And he's going to have some kind of guilt at the end if he does leave the Heisenberg persona, because he killed a little kid. He killed Gail basically. He's just done so much bad shit that if he stops doing the drug trade, that distraction will be out of his life, and he'll have to deal with the consequences in his own mortality. Another way the Resident might play a part in how the series ends is that Walt gets chased by both the Nazis, maybe people in Arizona, and the DEA. Jesse has nothing to do with him, his family hate him because of the drug trade, and he kills himself with the Resident. This would be a rather morbid ending to the series, but he'd probably go out with a bang. That's why he has the machine gun. He goes, gets the machine gun, shoots down all his enemies, and even though he's won, he kills himself so that no one else has to be hurt because of his drugs. Again, as I said, this probably won't happen. He'll probably kill those people, or he'll get killed by someone, so there's a like kind of payoff, either good people or bad people. And if he kills himself, it'll be a coward's way out almost, and it'll be a weird ending to the series. But again, it might happen. You never know with Bryan Cranston. A lot of things have surprised people in the past, and I imagine a lot of things are going to surprise people in the series that's about to start on August the 11th. Now, another idea is that he just leaves the country altogether and leaves the Heisenberg persona behind, because he has the name Heisenberg, who is a theoretical physicist, and he uses this alias when he's in the bar. When we see the kind of preview of the next season, he uses the alias Heinrich Lambert, or just Lambert. He uses that alias, so that might be that he's not going to be Heisenberg anymore. He's going to be a new drug dealer called Lambert in a whole new area. So maybe he goes, leaves Heisenberg behind, vows to stop, and in a certain kind of way he does stop. But he also picks it up in a different area where the DEA and the police have no idea who or what he's done in the past. Who he is or what he's done in the past. And he could do this through the disappearing method that Saul had described a few seasons before. Because when Walt was panicking before, he said, because when Walt was panicking about his family getting killed, Saul offered him a disappearing method where you get a whole new identity and you leave the place altogether. Now he said that was a last resort. In case anything bad happened, you could leave with new IDs, but you'd never be able to come back. So maybe Walt actually took advantage of that offer and he leaves either by himself or with his family with new IDs. The Lambert thing could be his actual ID, could be his name, but Lambert's probably going to be his sort of tag as a methamphetamine dealer and distributor. But then that wouldn't explain why he has the gun, so so this is probably not going to happen, although it is still a theory. So there you have it, that was the top 10 Breaking Bad season finale predictions. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Remember to come back here after the season finishes to see which of these predictions were true and see if I was in fact